When I first saw the tape of Trump, I was shocked but not surprised.
I don't even wait.
We've known this about Trump for a long time. He's been accused of sexual assault in the past by Jill Hurth, a former business associate.
He pushed me up against the wall and had his hands all over me and tried to get up my dress again. And I had to physically say, "What are you doing? Stop it." It was a shocking thing to have him do this.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab him by the pussy. You can do anything.
It is sexual assault to grab a woman's private parts without her consent, to kiss her without her consent, without warning, which is exactly what Trump described on those tapes. The reaction of Trump supporters to the phrase sexual assault was almost unbelievable.
This is suggesting sexual assault. And
that's a very unfortunate phrase, and people really should stop using that.
Why?
Because I know him better and I know better.
But it's what he said.
This term sexual assault has been bandied about.
I don't think he was advocating sexual assault on that bus.
You had a lot of surrogates focusing on the words.
It's shockingly lewd.
It was guy talk.
Well, those words are horrendous. They're dreadful. They're appalling. They're foul.
That's what is said in a locker room. I've been in a lot of locker rooms. I play sports. Absolutely. Look, guys, don't kid yourself, okay?
The language is inappropriate. It's not acceptable.
And I think a lot of these people who are focusing on the words just don't really understand what sexual assault means.
He said he starts to kiss a woman and then they let him do X, Y, or Z. That implies consent.
That's not consent. Consent is not imposing your will on someone and having them just not resist. Consent means that the other person wants to be doing the thing that you are doing.
Take me to Pleasure Town.
Oh, we're going there.
There's this great cartoon, and it's about how consent is like tea. You wouldn't try to force tea down the throat of someone who says, "No, thank you, I would not like tea."
Whether it's tea or sex, consent is everything.
We understand this with food, but we don't really understand it with women's bodies.
All of a sudden, his hands were all over me. He was like an octopus. It was like he had 6 arms. He was all over the place.
There's been a weird tendency on the right in general to minimize the role of consent in sexual assault.
The left will promote and understand and tolerate anything as long as there is one element. Do you know what it is? Consent. But if the left ever senses and smells that there's no consent in part of the equation, then here come the rape police.
What Rush Limbaugh doesn't get is that if you don't consent to sexual activity, it's not legal. It has a lot to do with traditional gender roles.
Boys will be boys, and, you know, guys are pretty lusty, and you needed to be careful when you got them around young women, particularly if there was parties and alcohol, so the rules were pretty tight. Well, the sexual revolution that began in the 60s did away with all that.
The problem with some of these more traditional views of gender is that they just don't know how to deal with the idea that women are autonomous beings when it comes to sex. That women have sex, women like sex, women can know when they want to have sex and how they want to have it and with whom they want to have it, and that they are entitled to make choices about this. After we actually had women come forward and say, yes, Trump did these things to me that he denied doing on national television, the conversation had to shift. It couldn't be about words anymore. It was very clearly now about alleged deeds, Trump's alleged deeds.
He turned to me and embraced me and gave me a kiss on the lips. And I remember being shocked. I mean, I was very young, and I remember feeling kind of embarrassed, like wanting to turn and almost wipe my mouth, like, what just happened?
He just came strolling right in. There was no second to put a robe on or any sort of clothing or anything. Some girls were topless, other girls were naked.
Natasha Stoyanov, a writer for People magazine, claims that she was physically attacked by Trump.
Trump took Tic Tacs, suggested I take them also. He then leaned in, I'm reading this, catching me off guard, and kissed me almost on the lips. I was really freaked out.
He and his campaign, in order to protect him, have sort of no choice but to say that these women are crazy or politically motivated.
I think it's very difficult if you've been on an airplane, I know you've been on an airplane, sitting in first class, that someone would notice if an octopus was grabbing you, and all of a sudden she's so enraged by this, she gets up and goes back to the back of the plane. I think there's a lot of holes in this story.
Why wait for 26 days out from the election? Is this a political hit piece?
Any reasonable woman would have come forward and said something. Gee, how convenient that both of these women are Hillary Clinton supporters.
And there's good reason why women often wait this long to come forward. Victims know very well that they're going to be disbelieved. They know.
Temple Taggart was 21-year-old beauty contestant. Watching him relive his sexual aggressions on this video, she said in an interview on Saturday, made me feel a lot better, she said. It was like, thank you. Now no one can say I made this up.
These women who say that Trump has groped them are watching him say to Anderson Cooper's face that he doesn't do that.
You describe kissing women without consent, grabbing their genitals. That is sexual assault. You brag that you have sexually assaulted women. Do you understand that?
No, I didn't say that at all. I don't think you understood what was said.
So for the record, you're saying you never did that?
I said things that, frankly, you hear these things are said. And I was embarrassed by it, but I have tremendous respect for women.
Have you ever done those things?
Women have respect for me. And I will tell you, no, I have not.
They wanted to tell their truth so that his testimony would not be all that was out there about this, about what really happened to them.